Hello guys, welcome to a new video. In this video I'm gonna talk about Nikon D7000, why it is still a great camera in 2022. Well guys, this camera is almost 12-year-old now. So judging by that, you will feel like it is kind of outdated, it doesn't take great photos. Let's find out guys if it is still relevant right now. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you always get notified whenever I post a new video. Let's begin the video guys. So this camera features a 16 megapixel sensor, and the sensor does have this optical low pass filter in front of that to prevent the moire effect. And it can shoot 6 frames per second in continuous mode, and if you are using this battery grip, then you can shoot 8 frames per second, which is such a great FPS if you want to do some fast action photography. So it is a great camera in that regard. Beside that guys, the ISO range on this camera is from 100 to 25,000. So in low light situation, it is still a decent camera. If you combine this with the 50mm f1.8 lens or the 35mm f1.8 lens, it can take even more stunning photos. This camera has a built-in autofocus motor in the body, so you would be able to use all the older Nikon lenses that are autofocus. So all of them would work perfectly fine. For example, the 50mm f1.8D lens and other AF lenses, everything would work perfectly fine with this camera guys. And in terms of photos, like there is something magical about the photos that you take with this camera. I'm not sure like what is the reason. Maybe it's the sensor or the processing algorithm that they use with this camera. The photos straight out of the camera look so nice. You don't have to do much editing to them. You can straight away use the JPEG photo that this camera produces. And 16 megapixel is still more than good enough guys. I have shot so many photos with this camera and I have never been disappointed. Whenever I use this camera, I feel some kind of inspiration, and I always feel that I can get great photos with this camera. Most of the time I use this camera in aperture priority mode, and 99% of the time it always chooses the right shutter speed and the correct exposure guys, which is such a cool thing with this camera, because many of the newer camera still they struggle with the exposure when you are using them in aperture priority mode. They end up choosing the incorrect exposure or incorrect shutter speed, but this camera works so fine. And even the autofocus system on this camera is really good. It has 39 autofocus point, and in photography the autofocus is very fast and snappy. Even in low lighting situation, it is able to grab onto the focus really very quickly guys. And this camera features dual card slot, so it is a great camera if you want to do wedding or event photography. You can get this camera really very cheaply. Nowadays you can have this camera for around like $250 US along with this 18 to 105 kit lens, which is also a great lens. And you can have this camera as a backup body guys, and for professional work it is awesome because this has a weather sealed body, so even if there is like little bit of rainfall, this will work perfectly fine. And this camera also has a feature for micro adjusting the focus on your lenses. Sometimes your lens might be back focusing or front focusing, so you can micro adjust all of your lenses using this camera. In terms of video, this camera can shoot full HD 24 frame per second video, and it has a mic input jack, so you can connect external microphone to get better audio. It can also do time-lapse video guys, and it can also take HDR photos because this camera has exposure bracketing. So it has almost all the features that you need in a professional camera guy. So let me put onto the screen some of the photos that I've taken with this camera, and the photos are stunning guys. I haven't done any editing whatsoever with the photos that I took with this camera. They look so awesome just out of the camera, and all of them were shot in JPEG. Most of the time I use this 18-105mm kit lens and sometimes the 50mm f1.8D lenses for the photos that I've taken guys. Now I'm gonna put onto the screen the video footage that I've taken with this camera, and I took the video using this 18-105 lens, and the video looks quite decent. The only problem is that in the video, if you are trying to do like continuous autofocus, so then it can do a hunting. So I would advise you, whenever you are making a video, either use manual focus mode or try to fix your focus before you start the video guys. Hello guys, right now the video that you are seeing is from D7000 camera and I am using the 18 to 105 kit lens, and the audio is also directly from the built-in mic on the camera. So at 18, this is how it looks, and when I zoom all the way to 105, this is the field of view that you get. And the autofocus is pretty snappy on this camera, it works quite good, and you can see the video quality looks really nice. Today is a very hazy weather and it is raining, and this camera has a weather sealed body, so you can use this camera in light rain, and that's why you don't see really nice and rich colors, because the sky is very gloomy and it's really dark. But despite all that, the video footage looks quite nice actually. I'm going to try to focus on these leaves of the tree, and you can see with this lens itself you can get a decent background blur. The sharpness in the video is pretty nice. The details are very well captured, guys. So it's a decent performer and a really very nice camera. Now I'm going to show you a close-up of this camera. So from the back, this camera looks like this. As you can see, it has dedicated buttons and dials for each and everything. So this dial is for the shutter speed, and we have like different buttons for each and every settings, guys. And on the top you can see we have a top LCD screen where you can see all your different settings, guys. And on this side we have this mode dial, and beneath this mode dial there is another dial where you can choose whether you want to shoot a single frame per second, or you want to do in continuous mode, or you want to do mirror lockup, or you want to use a remote or a timer. All those things you can choose from here. And on this side you can see the dual card slot. So here you can put the first card, and here you can put the second card. And on this side, you can see we have the microphone input and the USB and the HDMI and different ports, guys. So it has all the ports that you need, guys. Now the final question, guys, should you still get this camera in 2022? Well guys, this camera is still relevant. The kind of photos that this camera can take even right now are more than usable. You can do professional work with this, you can get paid work with this camera. It is still relevant, and that too you can get this for like $250. So such a good bargain price for a fully professional camera, guys. If you need a backup body for doing like wedding photography, this will be the best camera for you, because this has a dual card slot, and you always need a dual card slot whenever you are doing like some event photography or wedding photography, guys. If you compare this with some of the newer cameras or like the mirrorless camera, they are much more expensive. But if you just talk about the image quality, guys, so the image quality that you can get with this camera using a nice, let's say a 50mm lens, is still like at par with some of the more expensive camera, guys. There is some kind of a character that the image from this camera have, which some of the even the newer camera lack, guys. And this is a really good camera for like professional photographer, guys. But if you are a let's say a newbie, you are starting into the world of photography, you need a DSLR, then maybe you should go for D3000 series camera or 5000 series camera, because this is very sturdy, and you would feel like a bit overwhelmed trying to use such a big camera. Many good things about this camera, guys. It has a top LCD screen, it has like dedicated dials and buttons, it has a dedicated dial for aperture, and on the back for shutter speed. So you have like tons of buttons. You don't have to dive into the menus to change different settings. So it's a great camera for professional photographer, and you can still use this camera in 2022, or even 3 years from now in 2025. You can still get great results with this camera, guys. Alright guys, I hope you liked my video. If you liked my video, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, and I will see you in a new video, guys.